American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
2016, year of the snake. It's time for a change in the White House, y'all.
There's my Diane. How's it going? Karen, how's it going? We got a lot of good stuff to talk about, you guys, tonight. I'm excited. Click the share button. Let folks know we're in. It's going to be a good show. How's it going on, Mario? It's going to be a good show, you guys. I started out today not enthusiastic, just like we're getting through it. Jack, awesome rally in Tennessee, you guys. Awesome protest march to the mayor in Tennessee. Great job, Mayor, Governor. I saw the video just a few minutes ago, so great job you guys are doing out there. Helen, how's it going? Good to see you. Deidre, good to see you. So I started off not super happy. But you know what? Some things have happened today. The president, some good things, you guys. We're going to talk about it all. I'm going to give you guys some motivation, some work to do, and a lot of hope. Yes, I said a lot of hope I'm giving you today on this show right now. So click share so everybody can get a lot of hope with us. We're going to have a good day. Can you guys read that? I have my copy over here somewhere. Oh, look. My copy. I prefer. Time to get tough. Time to get tough. That's what I prefer. Keep right next to my Mark Ingalls reader, you guys, because you always want to know what the enemy is doing. Always want to know. Study your communism so you know what to fight. So critical. Look at all the tabs I have in mine. This is so I can turn to things and say, communism thinks that? Actually, that's how I roll. How's it going, Loretta? Good to see you. There's my Munkin.
Do you like having the right to bear arms? Protect your family?
I'm so glad you helped me do this show. I haven't given Chris a whisper in a long time. But I love having him on this show. I love having him always checking. It's home. Come on, Trump. Loretta, good to see you. I don't know if I said hello yet. I think I said hello, Karen and Deidre and Helen and everybody. You're welcome, my Munkin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. You're watching the one and only Trump Talk US live in DC with Suzzanne Monk. I am Suzzanne Monk, nation's capital. 8 minutes that way. Beautiful White House, 15 minutes away from here. Probably less. You guys, I can make it probably in 12 minutes because of no traffic, because of the shutdown, the crazy shutdown in DC, as well as everywhere across the country. We know what's going on. We've all been seeing it and living it. We've actually got some very positive news today talking about Reopen America. I got my sweatshirt on. I had my shirt hanging up in the thing. I think I put it on somewhere. I think I had to throw it on. So I'll have to get it hung back up. But we've got my sweatshirt. You can get your Reopen America shirts. We're going to have the link on the website. Great stuff. stuff. Great stuff, you guys. We're having a great day, and I'm kind of excited about it. So I want to thank Chris McDonald. I want to, of course, give a shout out to Diane Ventura, my dear friend on Reopen America, my partner and friend, and the founder of the Trump Towel. So, of course, you can still get your Trump Towel. I have got the golf towel, you guys. What? Golf towel? What? Yeah. I didn't even play golf. I just going to loop it onto my belt loop so that I don't have to tuck it into my pants. It's actually great. It's perfect. It's perfect for me. Perfect for me. Also, of course, want to give a big shout out to our good friends at sendmeg.com. If you have any delivery needs in the Northeast area of the country, she can hook you up right now, particularly, in this economic times. I'm sure she's happy to help you out, make a good arrangement with you. Small business owners like that are the backbone of our economy and our society. And so we want to support them in every possible way. Boom. All right, guys, let's start talking about what's been going on in the country over the weekend. Wow, so many amazing things. We saw the barbershop, the beauty salon owner in Dallas reopen. We saw Georgia reopen today, beauty shops, gyms. My friend Ken Yasgur was in his gym. People are starting to be able to go into restaurants and other places. They're still doing basic distancing, but everything is getting open. Things are getting opened across Georgia. They're in different phases. I'm not sure there might still be some aspects that are closed. I don't think they have schools open yet, for example. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But so Georgia getting reopened. Really exciting to see that because people are getting more and more motivated. Now, there's more and more business owners and individuals. Even in New York, there's a gentleman, Taylor Clothier, who has reopened. And more business owners are just starting to get to that point where they just can't stay closed. They're going to lose their business. If they don't open, they will lose their business. They're going to risk getting fined. They're going to risk getting the ticket because they have no other choice. Now, I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk tonight. I've done some great research. I want to thank Scott Liberty from the Reopen supporters page who sent me some great information about sheriffs and what the authority of sheriffs are in our country. There's a wonderful book I forget the title, but its topic is the constitutional authority of sheriffs, what the founders intended in the system, and certainly what system we have, which is that our sheriffs are elected in the state and they swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. They actually through the judicial cases, we have Jack, I'm going to put that up in a second. Through judicial cases and through precedents, we have established in this country that the sheriffs have a level of authority that is equal to the governor of the state in matters of constitutionality, that the sheriffs and their constitutional order, much like you in the army, if your superior officer tells you, okay, shoot those women and children that aren't doing anything, you can say no, because that's an illegal order. You might get some flack for it, but you will be justified in it and be vindicated in the long run. Similarly, these sheriffs have authority whether or not they're going to enforce laws that are unconstitutional, either on their face or through court order. It's kind of a great thing, and it's one of the things that gives we the people power in our local communities, is our ability to elect and thus represent us, the officials of law enforcement. I'm going to put what Jack has said here. Business owners can lose their businesses on their knees begging or on their feet fighting. Yeah, one or the other. And there are more and more. You're absolutely right, Jack. There are more and more business owners that are deciding each and every day, I'm not going to go down on my knees. If I got to go down because the city gave me tickets until I was broke, I'd rather do that than go bankrupt sitting here waiting for them to reopen me, and they never will. And I don't blame anyone for making that decision. In fact, I validate that decision entirely. As a business owner, you should not ever have been forced. You should not ever have been forced to close your business based on an executive order from your governor or mayor, that is a deliberate seizure and misappropriation of private property. We have private property protections listed in the Bill of Rights. Let's just look at it for a second. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizure shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. It is a form of seizing to demand your time, your business be closed, and that you not make money. For the state to tell you what you can do with your private business, it would be as if the state could come in and tell you you can go home. That's basically what the liberties are being violated. We've allowed a lot of agencies like the Department of Health, other local agencies, regulations to have a lot of impact on business owners, which is why they're under a lot of siege, and that these governors, these mayors can actually issue these orders. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Janet can actually issue these orders in any way, because there are so many different regulatory bodies that they can threaten these businesses with. But according to the Constitution and our private property rights, there is no reason why the state should be able to tell you that you have to be closed. Certainly not for this period of time. I mean, it's one thing if we have an immediate invading army. We would have established martial law for that. That's exactly what martial law is. That's not the Stafford Act, what the president has used to get emergency funds to the states. A lot of states have done a great deal of overreaching, and we're going to talk about overreaching because the president and William Barr have called for sincere pushback with the U.S. state's attorneys. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but I wanted to put this up. Jenna, Illinois may be opening up May 1st. There's a lot of cases, and I think Pritzker, as well as I think the Pennsylvania governor Wolf and Whitmer in Michigan. You guys, there's 50 states, and I'm trying to memorize all these governors, and you guys have one, and I have all of them. So it's kind of, I feel like the teacher at the first day of school, like the kids have one teacher's name to learn, and I have like 30 kids to learn. So it's like 50 states of governors. I'm trying to do my best. Please excuse me if I do not know your governor's name. I am, in fact, crying. They have been served injunctions through the courts because there are individuals who have put through the judicial process, through the courts, put a lawsuit out accusing these governors of being either a variety of things. The same thing in Michigan, it is about her having extended past her authority. She only has a 30-day window to have an emergency order. So any emergency orders beyond that point have to be approved by the legislature. In Michigan, well, the state legislature sued her. So we're gonna just let's do a little moment. I'm gonna take a pause right now. Because I got to scroll back up to move Janet's comment. Thank you, Janet. Yes, it's a good point. Illinois as well. Pritzker is under it's a different lawsuit, and I don't know what the exact details are. I do know the details in Michigan with Governor Whitmer. That is the case. So there are several governors that their orders may be rescinded by the courts through injunction, which means they're of course going to appeal to their state court. Those could get moved up to the Supreme Court very quickly. I'm going to put this one up. This is my favorite one. We have trolls all the time. As you know, we love to have trolls. We love to pop in with our trolls for a second because they often say things that are so ignorant that they are an educational tool. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to be an educational tool because Rob Forlini1, who I'm assuming has like 2 followers on Twitter and probably has several accounts, Rob 3 Leany 2, he's probably switched the numbers around to make sure that he can keep track of all of the trolling jobs that he has to do for his paycheck, like the trolls do. But he says, my father didn't fight a dictator in World War II so that we could have one in the White House. I'm not sure how old your father is, sir, or how old you are, or think you are, but World War II has been quite some time ago. Okay. My grandparents, who both fought in World War II, are both dead. And my grandmother lived to her 90s, her late 90s. So your father? It's a very interesting way to rephrase it. You might want to do the math again before you make stuff up, because that math doesn't work out so well anymore. You know, I'm 48 years old. Let's just say this. I'm nearly 50 years old, and my grandmother died over a decade and a half ago when she was 98, and she fought in World War II. So math is a thing. It's fun. Secondly, didn't fight a dictator. Unfortunately, this is, if President Trump is being a dictator, he's really the crappiest dictator in the world, because he literally had a conversation, as we're going to talk about next, with the governors of the 50 states of our fantastic electorate, our fantastic representative republic. Okay. Telling them that they should do what they feel is best for their states to make their own opening decisions. So that's really weird, because dictators I know usually don't say, hey, you know what, you guys in your states, you just do whatever you guys really want. I'm just going to give you some advice. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So, Rob, I'm going to give you like a C minus. I'm going to give you a C minus on this troll. This, you know, you got to do better work. Maybe on your other accounts, your other troll accounts, you are doing better work. I don't know. But from this grade right here, C minus. And I'm getting generous. It's probably quality D work, really, because you didn't do your back math at all. So, trolls, aren't they fun? Aren't they fun? I know his father is. Oh, good. Excellent. So great. Elizabeth has an older father. That's great. His father, obviously, I agree with this, Sharon, 100%. His father obviously loved his country more than he does. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Trolls make me laugh too, Loretta. Trolls make me laugh too. And I like to have fun. You know, we can always have fun. Yes, Janet. So Pritzker lost and he's pissed. I bet he is. And we're seeing more of those links. So it's great. I'm going to send me a link on that case, on that injunction, Janet, if you can. If there's an article on that, I'd love to share that on the reopen page. And we will certainly, and there's several ways that we're going to get back at these governors, that we're going to able, I know, Monarch, you know you've made it when you have trolls. Thank you. There's several ways. Obviously, this legal method is helpful, very helpful. The pressure we've been putting on, the phone calls, the emails, the rioting, the protests, not the rioting, the writing, just making sure. Don't want the fake news to misquote me as suggesting we go rioting. Please, peaceful assembly. That is what we are allowed in the Constitution. Peaceable assembly, please. So all of that is having a lot of pressure. What we're also seeing is within the states, how's it going, Christina? Good to see you. Within the states, Sharon, good to see you. There is division. So, for example, in the state of New Mexico, let me tell you this awesome story I actually love. In the state of New Mexico, their governor, she's a female Democrat, don't remember her name at the moment, but there's a city called Grant, New Mexico. The mayor's name is Hicks, Mayor Hicks, and he has decided he's going to reopen the city of Grant. He doesn't care what the governor said. I said it right with the southern accent. I know, very dangerous. It is. I know. Suzzanne said right with the southern accent. It is very dangerous. Thank you. The more twang I get, I have to be careful. I have to always be double careful. So Mayor Hicks in Grant, New Mexico, has decided to reopen Grant, New Mexico, and he is totally not having it with the Democrat governor of New Mexico, who has decided to shut down. And he has informed he has talked with local law enforcement and the sheriff, and has let them know that he will be what's the word I want to look for? Telling business owners in Grant, New Mexico, if the state police come to bother you to try to implement the state of New Mexico's shutdown orders, call 911 and local law enforcement will come out and defend you. What did you just say, Suzzanne? Yeah, let me tell you that again. In Grant, New Mexico, Mayor Hicks is telling residents to call 911 if the state's police show up and try to enforce the governor's unconstitutional orders. Why can he do that, Suzzanne? That sounds crazy. Of course the state police have jurisdiction over the local police. No, they don't. And so this is what we're talking about. It's a very important thing we're going to be doing with Reopen America coming over the next several weeks even. Your sheriff has the authority to not enforce unconstitutional shutdown orders. Yes, Monica, 100%. He's the mayor. He can do what's best for his city. And that's what the president has said. The president has said these local areas and these governors and these mayors and these counties, they know the local knows what's best for its community, for our community. We know what's best in our communities. How's it going, Jenna? 100%. So in your counties, if you are living in a county that has a sheriff, many counties do. We're in the district, so we have Metropolitan Police and we have Park Police and Secret Service, but in Illinois, for example, Clark County, Cook County, there's several counties, Clark County in Nevada, Orange County, whatever county you're in, okay, there's a sheriff's department. That sheriff is elected. That sheriff's department can, in fact, refuse to enforce the unconstitutional orders. In fact, many sheriffs across the country, including in various states in Michigan and Wisconsin, some sheriffs in Pennsylvania, some sheriffs across the country have come out publicly and said, we will not enforce these unconstitutional orders. And those areas are in effect then protected from the shutdown order. If your sheriff's department in your county is not going to come and issue tickets, is not going to come and issue fines and arrests, because some are actually walking into your business and arresting you. You have to find out. If they're not enforcing those laws, you all can reopen right now. You can open your business right now, whether the governor says you can or not, whether the mayor says you can or not. If there's nobody to come give you the ticket, it's not enforceable. It's not an enforceable law. So it's just the governor or the mayor, blah, 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 stay inside. Don't stay inside. Go do your business. Now, will that put you in some ways? In some places, we're seeing businesses all over Alabama as well. I've noticed, I've talked with a lot of businesses in the Reopen Alabama group that are just like, we're going to reopen and let them, some businesses have said, I already reopened on Friday. I'm going to reopening on Monday. Hey, you guys come open with me. They can't close us all down. This mentality is starting to take hold. People are getting fed up. But one of the ways that we can enforce and support those individuals is to reach out to our sheriffs across the country and find out whether or not they intend to enforce these unconstitutional shutdown orders, if they intend to be giving people tickets, et cetera, et cetera. If they're not doing that, great. If they are or they don't know, there's a wonderful book. I'm going to get the links on the Reopen America page and my personal page and on Trump Talks. You all can find these links. That is a book that discusses the the legal authority. It's a book and a speech. There's a speech, there's a PDF, there's a couple videos. There's a lot of information that you can share with your sheriff on his constitutional authorities and how he is in fact legally allowed to resist the mayor or the governor's orders if they violate the state or the federal constitution or the U.S. Constitution. So you're going to be in the process of helping reopen your businesses in each of your counties by calling your sheriff, finding out if they're educated to know their rights, helping them be educated about their rights, and then asking them to use those rights to protect our businesses by stating to the public that they're not going to enforce these shutdown orders. So the businesses will have certainty and calm. You know, there are, yes, several brave businesses that have come out and started to reopen. So proud, brave. But many people are afraid. Many people are concerned that they will not be able to afford the legal fees or the ticket if anything happens, or, you know, they just don't want to appear. They don't want their customers might not appreciate it. So there's a lot of different people's situations. Every person is different. Every person is different. Every person has a different set of circumstances. You have to understand that. But that being said, there are some people who would be willing to open up if they knew the sheriff wasn't showing up, right? Who wouldn't? We all understand that. Many businesses would feel much more comfortable if their sheriff said, look, we're not coming. So go do what you want. Of course, we can create that. We can create that security in our own counties. And that's what we're going to teach everyone how to do over the next several days. We're going to help you guys do that. Also, so important. Our sheriffs are one of the keys to getting our businesses back open, and we're going to help you guys get in touch with your sheriff and find out what Loretta is saying. Make sure your sheriff stands with the Constitution and not the Dems. 100% first. 100% first. You got to call. You got to ask where he stands. You got to communicate with these folks. And we're gonna walk you through that process. Diane has actually already been talking with her sheriff in Butler County, and so we do it before we make you do it. We do it before we make you. We call governors and mayors, etc., before we go, hey, everybody call governors and mayors. So, in fact, we're going to be calling sheriffs as well. And I personally, I'm going to put out a call tomorrow, call to action. We should all call Mayor Hicks in New Mexico, because that guy has some cojones. I think that's what they have to say in New Mexico, cojones. That guy. So impressed, Mayor Hicks. Thank you very much. Helen, you're very welcome. Now, let's talk about the DOJ, you guys. Let's talk about William Barr's announcement. He will be, I'm so excited about this. It's like the president, through his administration, through his press conference today, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, through the Department of Justice, through Attorney General Barr, through so many different venues, just gave us all some great tools to work with today. So I'm just really excited about all the new great tools that we're going to use. One of them being Attorney General William Barr came out today, made an announcement that he has issued an order to the 93 U.S. states attorneys to prosecute any state that has violated the Constitution in their shutdown plan, in their coronavirus protection, prevention, stay at home, whatever they called it, plan. If they have violated the Constitution, if they have violated individuals' constitutional liberties, or in general constitutional liberties of large groups of people or their entire state, the DOJ has instructed, Attorney General Barr has instructed his 93 states attorneys, U.S. states attorneys, to prosecute those cases. What does that mean for us, you guys? Excellent. This is what that means. We now, up until this moment, the only way we have had to actually push back against the unconstitutionality of these executive orders and emergency orders from these states, from mayors, counties, etc., was be affected by it, get fined, get arrested. Thank you for sharing the list of U.S. states attorneys, Chris. Get a cease and desist order from the. You had to somehow become the victim of the state, and then you could get an attorney and you could sue, and you could go through the court process, etc., etc. That was the one legal way we had to address the unconstitutionality of these orders. The other way we had was protest, just public protest, complaining in public in protest, complaining in email, complaining over the phone. These are good methods. I'm not saying these aren't good methods. These are the methods we have, and they're great methods. They are two important legs of the stool. Okay. The third leg, obviously, there's the third leg, protesting, calling and writing, the ballot box is a third leg, legal cases. Okay, so we got those three, but there's a fourth leg on this stool, you guys. There's a fourth leg now on this stool. We don't just have to become a victim of the unconstitutionality ourselves and then get a lawyer ourselves and sue the state ourselves. We can report the unconstitutionality to the U.S. state's attorney in our state, in our region, and we can have the U.S. state's attorneys, the Department of Justice, prosecute these states and pressure these states to rescind the unconstitutional orders. I'm going to repeat what I just said. Now, we don't just have to be the victims of it and get our own lawyer and sue the state, which is a great, effective way. But President Trump has unleashed the Department of Justice as a weapon in our arsenal. And I am so thankful. I'm so thankful, President Trump, that you told Attorney General Barr to do this, because this is going to be very helpful. We now have our state's attorneys under direct orders from the Department of Justice to prosecute unconstitutional actions by mayors, by governors, by counties, by sheriff's departments, any unconstitutional actions that have occurred in the states. The state's attorneys are to investigate and prosecute those instances. This is pressure, legal pressure, the biggest legal pressure from the federal government itself. Legal pressure that can be now put on these states, these governors, these mayors, these county commissioners, etc., who are out of control. That pressure can come from the Department of Justice itself. It doesn't have to come from some attorney, although thank you and bless every single constitutional attorney in this country. It's not a big moneymaker, and I love you guys. Now we have the Department of Justice on our side. Now we have the Department of Justice on our side. And Nick, you are 100% right. Michigan State Attorney should be very busy. And Nick, I'm glad you brought that up, because Michigan reopeners are going to be very busy as well. Let me use this hand. Michigan reopeners are going to be very busy as well. Why are we going to be busy? What are we going to be busy doing? Writing letters of complaint to the state's attorney's offices. We have been given a tool now in every single, yes, New York as well. We have been given a tool in every single state and city and county in the country. The president has handed us a beautiful weapon to help deal with this battle we're out here fighting on our own. He has now given us the Department of Justice itself. So powerful. Yes, Loretta, great question. Does that work in individual cities that overstep their authority? I'm so glad you asked that, because yes, it does. For example, Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago could in fact be written up in complaint to the state's attorney, and the state's attorney can in fact prosecute her for her unconstitutional actions in the city of Chicago. The state's attorney can investigate your congressperson. The state's attorney can investigate your sheriff. the state's attorney can investigate your mayor, your governor, your lieutenant governor, your state legislature, your school board. They can investigate anything. That's what they do. So yes, we can report all of it. Now, Janet, you're absolutely, listen, I already hear the skepticism. I'm glad. I'm going to put your skepticism up because, we all know that won't happen. And listen, when I personally reached out to the state's attorney's office several years back during the election to talk about them investigating Bob Creamer and Democracy Partners for instigating violence at the Chicago Trump rally, they got back to me. Someone at the state's attorney's office did send me a letter back. But it basically said you have to reword how you've asked the questions so we can. That's just the phone. That's just fun. So they didn't really go through with it. They were a little bit reticent prior to Trump's election to actually push against the Democrats and Bob Creamer and the conspiracy of Democracy Partners, et cetera, et cetera. This is a different situation. This is a different situation because the state's attorneys have many, many cases of unconstitutionality that are going on across the country. And even the threat of it, even the threat that the state's attorneys will look into and investigate will push back. So reporting these instances and getting the state's attorneys to start looking into them is going to actually have an impact, because whether or not the cases go all the way through, the pressure from the potentiality of the cases is enough to move the needle, even in Crook County, a little bit. And as we already talked about in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, as I am to understand, lost his legal battle when it comes to when it comes to his shutdown order. So there's a lot of great pressure that we can put on, and there are certainly a lot of direct legal action that can occur through the U.S. state's attorney's departments against these states, and this is really going to help us rein in these out of control government officials. It's great stuff, you guys. Really good stuff. So we're going to be focused over the next few weeks. Excuse me. We're going to be focused over the next few weeks on reaching out, of course, mayors, governors, emailing the president, letting him know thank you for your reopening process. We're going to be reaching out, of course, to our sheriffs. The whole project, Reopen America with our sheriffs. We're going to be working on that. I'm going to focus group the hashtag, you guys. Don't worry. We'll have it zazzy by the time we do it. But definitely contacting our sheriffs. And we're going to start the process of helping people report unconstitutional actions in their states, in their cities, to the U.S. state's attorney's offices. It's going to be a lot of pressure that we're able to put on our government. I'm really thankful to the president for giving us these additional tools. And I'm really thankful for Scott Liberty and our folks in our group for sharing with me about the sheriffs so that we can see these additional tools in addition to the ballot box, in addition to protesting, in addition to calling, emailing, writing our governors and mayors and our elected officials. We do have some additional ranchers and farmers, I believe what you'd refer to those two groups as. He is working to provide the I want to answer this question. I'm sorry to interrupt myself. I hate to do this. Sharon says the New York State's Attorney General is, the Attorney General. Do not confuse the Attorney General, which is the attorney of the state, okay, with the U.S. State's attorneys. The U.S. State's attorneys are different from your Attorney General. The U.S. State's attorneys answer to the DOJ. So even if your U.S. State's attorney in your region was a jerk, you would still be able to issue that complaint up to the DOJ itself, up to the federal level, over their heads. So keep in mind, one, that we're talking about the state's attorneys that answer to the Department of Justice, which means you can take it over their heads. But it also, the state's attorney, the Attorney General is a state position, the state's Attorney General. The U.S. state's attorneys, There's 93 of them, and they operate across. They're agents of the DOJ, of the Department of Justice. So I wanted to make sure that was clear in the difference. So Representative Massey has put together a bill that would facilitate farmers and ranchers to be able to sell their produce directly to the customers, directly to grocery stores. They are not, at this point, facilitated to do that. Our farmers go in through distribution centers. That's a lot of our farms, particularly sell to restaurants and schools, which is why they're struggling so much right now. Thank you. Everybody click the pinned link. Everyone needs to save the pinned link. Chris is making sure you save the pinned link. So click it and save it. It's an important link. That's that's probably the list of state's attorneys. So Representative Massey wants to make it possible for the farmers to actually be able to sell directly to the grocery stores outside of the system. He is putting a bill together in addition to other things, but it will free up and protect our meat supply, our food supply from the shutdowns of staffing issues, which is why we're having a meat shortage. Tyson's Farms took out a full-page ad in the New York Times, I believe, that talking about the coming break in the food supply chain, because we are seeing we do not have enough staff in these processing plants to process this meat. Tons, millions of pounds of meat, chicken, beef, etc. How's it going, Louise? Are being euthanized instead of butchered. They are being buried instead of sold. There's milk being dumped out, eggs being thrown out, egg producing chickens being euthanized because they don't have anywhere to sell the eggs, and it costs too much to feed the chickens. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous what we've done to the food supply chain, merely because we don't have the processors to process the food. We can't get it to market. And we don't have the places, the restaurants, etc., where the food is going. So we see the grocery store shelves empty. And yet we see we see beef cows being euthanized and then buried instead of being butchered and sold to the market. It makes no sense. It's because of the way we've set up our regulations in the country, and we have the system. And the system needs to be rectified. Representative Massey is working on a bill, I believe it's called the Prime Bill, to do that. He has put out a call, literally said, I am only one of 435 congresspeople. You're going to need to call. You're going to need to call your congresspeople. Let them know you want to support this. Yes, I'm going to pull this comment out. Karen says, a guy who works in a scallop boat in Rhode Island was at a Stop and Shop, saw scallops from Mexico in the fish section, and our fishermen are struggling. What a disgrace. Exactly the problem we're having, Karen. Thank you. That is a perfect anecdote of the problem we're having. The same thing is happening with our vegetables, our fruits and vegetables from Chile and South America. We're seeing this exact problem. We're importing the food we eat. The restaurants, the schools are using the food we grow. Now that they're closed, that food is being wasted, and we cannot get the food to the grocery stores where we can buy it. Representative Massey's Prime Act will, in fact, change that. And so I'm going to be putting out more information about it in the next several days as I find out more about it. But certainly take a look at it. Take a look at what Representative Massey is doing. Take a look at what Kevin McCarthy is doing. He's called for Nancy Pelosi to reopen Congress. How's it going, Kelly? There's several representatives that are starting to stand up with us. Not all the way, but several are. So it's so important that we continue to reach out to our elected officials and let them know we want to reopen our country. We want our jobs back. We want our economy repaired. We want our liberties restored. And we want them protected from any future violations going forward. So we're going to need you guys to do the thing. Karen, I will try to find the bill and the numbers. Yes, I shared a tweet on my page from Representative Massey on my Facebook page. So that does have him talking about it. I don't know if the number of the bill is in that piece. of conversation, but it may very well be. It may very well be. Let me just show you the fun troll. You really use all of the catchphrases, don't you? People should report your racist, xenophobic, ignorant, stinky corpse as soon as possible. None of those things are true. What I find hilarious is that no one is even talking about racism. You, sir, have what we call TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. You see the word Trump, you see a MAGA hat, and you lose your context of reality. You no longer are able to determine fact from your own fiction. And so it's really holding back your life. Because see, here you are. I know you don't want to hear any of this. You're not interested in Representative Massey and his bill. You're not interested in calling out the sheriffs and telling them that they can actually protect our small businesses and allow them to reopen and to protect our Constitution. You're not interested in the Department of Justice and our ability to use the state's attorneys to push back against the unconstitutionality of the shutdowns. You're not interested in any of that. So you're over here making yourself miserable, okay? Assuming that because you're on Periscope by yourself and my 1,000 viewers over here on Facebook are not in existence. Sad. You're wasting your life. You're wasting your life. You need to get healthy from this TDS so that you can go and do things that you actually enjoy. Because I know this can't be enjoyable for you. I know it can't be enjoyable for you. Let's see. Let's read a little bit of it. Diane, this is a great comment. Let me see if I can fit it all on the screen. Updated numbers. The formula is laid out by the Health Department Press Secretary Nate Wardle. Goes like this. Take the total number of new cases in a 14-day period, divide by the population of the region or country. I'm so glad you mentioned this, Diane, because this is the last thing I need to talk about. And multiply by 1,000. Butler County has 27 new cases in the last 14 days, divided by 187,853. Butler population equals a 0.000143373 multiplied by, see, there you go. Remember, the threshold is 50 per 100,000. Okay, that's 14. 14 is less than 50. Diane, you are correct. 14 is less than 50. So if your county, if your city, if your state has those numbers, not those specific numbers, but fits within the parameters, you can begin the phase 1 process. You should be your governor is now probably at risk of getting pressure from both the federal government and the president himself for not doing that. Certainly as we move forward in the reopening process. Now, this is what I wanted to mention. If you got to see the press conference of the presser, people had some different mixed feelings on it. I actually liked the parts the president was talking about. When the president was speaking, I think he had a lot of really relevant and interesting things to say. His shift towards business reopening is very encouraging. Another encouraging thing, very encouraging thing I heard him say in the press conference is that we are starting to see leveling off or the other side of the curve. Other than specific, very small hotspots, the president said, even DC, many other areas, we've leveled off or we've already gone over the curve. That meaning we should be able to move forward in reopening this country in a very short period of time. And you should take that as a badge of courage to push back against your shutdown Democrat mayor, governor, or rhino, if you happen to be unfortunate to live in a rhino state like Larry Hogan's Maryland. You can push back, and you can push back with all the power of the president, because the president is now issued the new guidelines. New guidelines are coming out. The reopening guidelines have been laid out. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I'm not a fan of all the phases. I'm not a fan of the contact tracing. There's some things in there I don't like. We can continue to email the president about, let him know we're not a fan of this. We're not a fan of that. But certainly the president has been hearing a lot of us and from us. Yes, Sharon, this is 100% true. Sharon says, is it true that he's considered stepping back his daily briefings? Well, he canceled the daily briefing today and held a press conference specifically in the Rose Garden at 5:30 when the sun beautifully shone in the eyes of all the journalists. He put them facing the sun. It was so funny. I love my president. So yes, he is considering slowing down, stepping back on the daily briefings. We are now moving into a more economic phase. We're going to be seeing Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci phased out. Now, in this press conference, they still had some time at the end, talking about their things. A lot of business representatives, Walmart, etc. Some of these big companies, I know we have mixed feelings about. I know the entire, the free market has mixed feelings. We're very concerned right now in Reopen America with the mom and pop businesses that are struggling. And we have a little bit of a frustration that some of these big box stores are getting a pass when our mom and pops who are selling essentials are getting tickets, arrested, shut down, cease and desist orders, etc. So there's issues, but obviously those issues are based in the implementation of unconstitutional orders by your state, by your county, by your city. And so we have to work within that parameter. I can't be bad at Walmart yet. Now, coming forward, you guys, as we're going forward, as we get the states to reopen, as we get your county to reopen, as we get your city to reopen, okay, as we're starting to see the country itself reopen, we're going to see companies, pay attention to me, we're going to see companies and organizations that will stay closed. For example, the Humane Society is closed for all, they don't treat animals right now. You cannot go to any of their Humane Society clinics, which are now closed across the country, to get low-cost animal care. I know this because my dear new kitten, it's not really a kitten, he's probably grown. He needs to be neutered. We cannot do it because the Humane Society, the only affordable sources of this treatment, this procedure, would be at the Humane Society here in DC. They would be in Maryland where they have them all shut down, or they'd be in Virginia where they have them all shut down. So I'm like, oh great, I live in the DMV where 3 dictators actually have decided to rule over our lives in a horrible draconian way. So that being said, it's not DC that's told the Humane Society to shut down. They actually have every capacity to be open in the city. The city has considered that animal care to be an essential service, and other veterinary offices are open. I just can't afford $300, so they want to charge me when it's like $40 to go to that's just ridiculous. So that is a choice made by the Humane Society. We're going to need to get things like the Humane Society, things like Disneyland, things like different corporations to reopen, to choose to reopen. They're going to resist the most. How do I know this? Because they were the first closers. And if you watch the Event 201 project, when they discussed the strategy of this pandemic response and how they were going to get the messaging out there, how they were going to get the government to comply with their pandemic response, was going to be getting influencers on the internet to put pressure on people, fear shamers, but also to get represent businesses who would lead the way. Okay, we're going to shut down. We're going to shut down for safety. We're going to shut down for safety, and we think maybe the state should shut down so that everybody does it, not just our business. Those businesses were used specifically as the lead, the tip of the spear in this shutdown movement. They are going to be the last thing that wants to reopen. They are bought and paid completely within the cabal of the World Health Organization and the individuals who have set up this whole Chinese virus panicdemic response hoax. The virus itself, it exists. People are certainly sick. There are certainly a serious illness that people are going through. The response and the suggested response has been the hoax. I want people to be very clear. When the president says that the virus is not the hoax, and he didn't say the virus is the hoax, he said basically what I'm saying. The media response, the spin, the fear, the panic, the lies, the misrepresenting what the president has said and done in response to this issue, that is the hoax. The fact that 2.2 million people were supposed to die in America, but it's actually way lower than that is the hoax. Frankly, the fact that the CDC is currently telling doctors that they should list COVID-19 as the initial cause of death, even if the cause of death was not that, if COVID is present. So if you get hit by a car, you have no symptoms, you don't have a cold, you're not coughing, you have no fever, you're walking across the street to get essentials, boom, hit by a car, die. Okay? They take you to the hospital. They test your antibodies. Oh, did you know that he had COVID antibodies? COVID case. He died of COVID. They're inflating the numbers ridiculously. This is the hoax. The inflation, the misrepresentation, the lies, the spin, the fear, the panic. Now there's 5 new symptoms, you guys. Come on. Come on. At some point, they're going to say, oh, yeah, there's new symptoms. Sunlight makes your eyes like resistant to sunlight. So you shouldn't go out in the sun. Well, didn't the president just say the virus is killed by the sun? Isn't sun actually healthy? So that's the hoax, the misinformation. See, here we go. I'm going to put this up. This is ridiculous. Rhode Island governor closed all the big box garden centers because she didn't want to allow the small local garden centers to open. But bakeries that are smaller than the garden centers are open. And I haven't heard of any type of infections occurring because of them. Karen, this is the exact kind of thing that we'll be able to report to the DOJ. That is arbitrary and unconstitutional. She has decided first off, garden center is very essential. There's a lot of products that are completely essential that are sold in the garden supply, animal supplies, etc. You don't need to, frankly, I mean, I love bakeries, but I think both are essential. To be fair, any job that pays somebody's bills is essential. This idea that the government can tell you food is essential. What's next? Certain food is essential. You can get your gruel and you can get, your porridge, but bacon, is that really essential, Suzzanne? See, this is where this is going. That's where this whole is it essential process goes. Goes to a horrible place. Goes to the government controlling every aspect of your lives. And we cannot live like that. We cannot live like that in any way, shape, or form. And we're not. We're not. So that is our show for today, folks. I want to thank, of course, Chris McDonald for coming in and representing and making sure you took care of so many links and sharing that. Thank you for finding the link. Let's see. DOJ. Yep. We talked about all the topics. I'm so proud of you, reopeners. I'm so proud of all of my reopeners. Yes, Luis, the virus is a crock. And there was something Luis said. I'm going to scroll up because there was something really great Luis said. This is what I wanted to leave it on. Please, Luis, so true. Please reopen our beautiful country. And I like to finish. Sometimes I remember to do it, you guys, and sometimes I don't. It's on my to-do list to do every day. Pray, live, hug. Pray, live, hug. So let's close this out with a prayer. And I want to make our prayer based on what Luis has said here, to ask our Heavenly Father to reopen our beautiful country. So, Heavenly Father, I want to just thank you for all of the folks that have come here to listen today. And thank you for these new revelations and pieces of information and pieces of the intellectual puzzle, Heavenly Father, that you have provided us so that we can better understand how we can be an active force to reopen our country, to help our fellow man, to help our fellow business owners, our fellow employees, our fellow citizens, the families, the country itself. Father, every single one of us needs to have a way to earn a living, to take care of our families, to put food on the table. And we know that in these times, many people have lost that. We are fighting so hard, Heavenly Father, to turn that around, to, as we say, reopen our beautiful country, to turn that economy, that big, beautiful economy that fed and clothed and housed so many people, not just here in America, Heavenly Father, but the American prosperity is something that affects the entire world. The entire world. And so we know that when food is short here, we know people in the third world go starving. And so we ask you, Heavenly Father, to please give us more tools. We thank you for what you have given us. Help us to use these tools that you have given us effectively. Give us more, Father. Help us in every possible way to reopen this beautiful country. We ask you to watch over our president and continue to impress upon his heart to help us, to stand with us in reopening this great nation. We thank you so much for the group of people that you have brought together and the power and strength that you give each and every one of them. Please bless each and every one of my Reopen Patriots, especially Jack for what he's doing, the work he's doing in Tennessee, especially Diane, especially Chris, who I know works so tirelessly behind his keyboard, Heavenly Father, especially Helena, so many of my great patriots who have stood so close beside me. I want to thank you for them. I want to thank you for them and continue to strengthen each and every one of them and all of those that I don't name right now, but you know are in my heart and in our hearts, Heavenly Father. Please bless and protect them. Continue to bless and protect our work. Thank you for the successes that you have given us and give us the strength to continue to work again tomorrow. We ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen, you guys. I love you. I love you so much. Until next time, this is your girl, Suzzanne Monk. Dropping out.